Going, guys, welcome back to Beyond the Arc, and today I'm going to be ranking teams based on their watchability ahead of the new season. That's right, the new season, it starts on Friday. Well, that's pre-season, but look, I'm just looking forward to some NBA basketball. I don't even care if it's the Warriors and the Wizards. I don't mind if it's at stupid hours in the morning. I just want some NBA basketball back. And yes, this Friday is the day that we get some NBA basketball. Today, I'm going to be ranking teams based on how I feel about their watchability heading into the new season. So, teams that are exciting to watch, teams that are a bit dead to watch, I'm going to be ranking them in a tier list. And yeah, I think before we get straight into that, make sure that you're liking and subscribing onto the video. Make sure you're sharing it out no matter what you're listening on. Make sure you are commenting down below what you want to see from Beyond the Arc over the next season as we head into season 3. Sully should be back next week. I keep saying that every week. It's going to be the biggest return ever when he comes back. The predictions video will be then. So when he comes back, the predictions video will be then. So bother him, Instagram DM him, tweet him, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. And without further ado, let's get straight into the tiers. So as we load up the tiers, you can see, well, as we load up the tier list, you can see what tiers we've got here. The top tier is the must-watch tier. So this is the teams that if I'm gonna have some spare time at night because I live in England and there's no NBA games unless they're on like a Sunday that are done in prime time British TV, they're gonna go. If I want to watch them games, I'm gonna put them in must watch. Fun to watch. That's just the tier below. Teams that I'm gonna probably not go out my way to watch, but if they are on and I have a bit of time and I'm thinking, you know what, they're a decent team, they're fun to watch, I'll watch them. Hit or miss is kind of just like the mid tier, the C tier. Sometimes they can be good, sometimes they can be whatever Gattuso says in that meme. The penultimate tier is kind of dead. So again, like fun to watch. This is like just the one above the boring as hell, the worst tier. Kind of dead is a team that's kind of probably tanking for reasons, and they're not going to be as exciting this season because they're going to be probably going to lose. And then boring as hell are teams that play boring basketball, play not what you want to really see, not attractive at all. Essentially, the Everton of the NBA, if you follow football in England. So, without further ado, I think we should get straight started and put my team, the Bulls, into must watch because, I mean, this is subjective opinion. You might not think that the Bulls are really fun to watch. I mean, watching Nikola Vucevic miss three after three after three in the regular season and in the playoffs made me not want to watch the Bulls as much. But they're my team. Even if they're trash, I'm gonna die watching the Bulls. So yeah, the Bulls easily into must watch. And to be fair, a team that has Zach LaVine on it, a team that hopefully will have Lonzo Ball on it. We never know. This man might not have a knee anymore. I'll give you my knee though, Lonzo, if it means that you get to play for us this year. So yeah, Bulls. I think a team that has Lonzo and Zach on its roster, that's highlight play after highlight play, in my opinion. You saw the highlights that them two were producing before Lonzo got injured, and with Zach finally at full strength, yeah, definitely, I'd make him I'd put them at top. The Philadelphia 76ers, I'm gonna put them in. I'm gonna put them in fun to watch. I think. In fact, fun to watch or must watch? I think it's just fun to watch because every single time I watch the Sixers play the Bulls, it's never fun to watch because they always dominate us. Joel Embiid, I'm not the biggest advocate on Joel Embiid compared to everyone else, pretty much. I do prefer Jokic over him. But, you can't deny that he is one of the best scoring centers that the NBA has ever had, really. James Harden, is he going to be fit and well? He says he's lost 100 pounds in the media day. If that's true, and he can finally get back to his old MVP form, then they could move up to top tier. But for the time being, I'll put him in second tier. The Wizards, I just think are kind of dead. I don't like Beal anymore. Ever since I think he could have been something a big team, but he's sold his soul to just for money, pretty much, to play for the Wizards first of his career. It might be good loyalty. I don't really rate it though. Kind of dead in my opinion, because other than Porzingis and Beal, I'm just thinking, Kyle Kuzma, he did all right last year. Denny Avdia, he's a good young player. Monte Morris, it'd be interesting to see how he does this year. But yeah, at the moment, Wizards in the fourth tier. As we move on to the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I personally think as a team, Atlanta are probably third tier. But because they have Trae Young, it just makes it fun to watch, especially if he's playing New York. Whenever New York playing Atlanta, make sure you're watching that game because it's going to be mental, especially if it's at the Madison Square Garden, because New York, they don't like Trae Young. They'd happily take him on their team, but as long as he plays for the Hawks, they don't really like him. So I'm going to put Atlanta as a fun to watch team, mainly because they have Trae Young. He can score, he can pass, he can do pretty much everything on the offensive end, meaning that, in my opinion, Atlanta are fun to watch instead of just a hit or miss team. Cleveland, I think this season, are going to be must watch. It's mainly because of the intrigue surrounding the Cavs. Nobody was expecting Cleveland to be pushing for playoffs last season, and they were pretty much in the playoffs for most of the season and ended up throwing it away in the back end of the season, and then didn't get through the play-in. This season they have Donovan Mitchell, who, in my opinion, maybe this is just because he played for the Jazz. We'll talk about the Jazz a little bit later, but maybe this is because he played for the Jazz. The Jazz didn't really play fun basketball, in my opinion. But now he's on a nice young team with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Darius Garland's coming off of a breakout year. Evan Mobley into his second year. I really like Jarrett Allen at the center position. I think they're going to live up to the hype this year. I think the Cavs are going to be must-watch TV. Detroit basketball, the Pistons. Hit or miss, I think, is going to be. And that's always going to depend on how well is Cade Cunningham firing. We saw last season that this guy has what it takes to be a franchise player in the NBA. So him paired with Jaden Ivey, I respect it. I think Jaden Ivey is going to be a very good pickup this year. Very underrated. People are saying it's either Keegan Murray or Paolo Banchero. I think if Ivey can get the minutes in, I know he got injured a little bit in the summer league, but if he can get his minutes in the NBA in the regular season, I don't think the Pistons are going to do that well. But I do think that the Pistons are going to be, in some cases, fun to watch. But in other cases, and I think more often than not, they are going to be a bit dead. So I'm going to put them in slap bang in the middle tier. The Indiana Pacers. I like Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's a nice young guard. But if I'm honest with you, he's the only player I'm interested in watching on the Pacers. They're boring as hell, in my opinion. Miles Turner, is he going to be there? Reports are saying he's going to be. I don't think he will be, though. At least not for the whole season. He might be there for the start, but I think he's going to get traded in like November, December time. I just, like I said, other than Halliburton, I can't think of anybody that I want to see on that Pacers team. Literally, I can't think of anybody. They're going to be tanking this season, in my opinion. Get Wembanyama in, get a few more draft picks in. But yeah, no, nobody on the Pacers stands out to me other than Halliburton. And I am a big fan of him, but I don't think that moves him out of the bottom tier, unfortunately. The Milwaukee Bucks must watch TV. They've got Giannis. And any game that Giannis is a part of, you always know that he's going to potentially drop like 40, 50. Obviously, he doesn't do that per night, but there is a high chance that it's going to happen if you watch the game. So, yeah, any team that has a player the standard of Giannis on, I think it's must watch TV. And also because they're a big team, people are going to be watching them to hopefully root for the other team, the underdog, against the big Greek freak. Chris Middleton, obviously, is one of the best number twos in the game. Grayson Allen is one of the most hated players in the game, which therefore means that anybody that watches that game just wants to see Grayson Allen lose. So, yeah, Milwaukee, top tier for all those reasons. As we move on to Toronto, the Raptors. I think the Raptors are kind of falling off a little bit. I don't think they're going to be too good this year. They still might get playoffs, in my opinion. The East is very, very competitive. I'm always going to be a little bit more biased towards my Bulls. But when I say Toronto haven't really upgraded, they haven't really upgraded their team. Scottie Barnes is going to be interesting to watch this season. Siakam's going to be fit for the whole season. I respect Fred VanVleet, but I do think he's on a bit of a decline. I think like Detroit, but in a better way, so I'll put them ahead of Detroit. If their players are on it and they're at home in front of that Toronto crowd, they're going to be fun to watch. But equally, there's going to be more times, often than not, that they're going to be a bit of a dead team to watch. Dallas, the Mavericks. In the same way that Giannis makes the Bucks must-watch TV, does Luka make the Mavericks must-watch TV? I personally don't think so. I think it's kind of a similar situation that the Sixers are in, but I'm going to put the Mavericks ahead of the Sixers. Luka's an unbelievable player. Whenever you watch him, he does some unbelievable stuff that you can't think that a human could ever do on a basketball court, which automatically puts him second tier. But if he had that second option maybe that wasn't Christian Wood, even though Christian Wood's probably going to be coming off the bench for them, as reports are saying, I think that's a bit tough. You give up a few decent players for Christian Wood, a second all-star level player, and you don't even start him. I mean, we've seen people like Tyler Hero, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, Manu Ginobili, if you want to go further back. They've made coming off the bench seem something that isn't a bad thing to happen to a player. I do think Christian Wood's going to get the most minutes at the centre position. Just not being a part of that starting group, I don't know. We've seen what Christian Wood wants. He thinks he's a very good player. Do we think he's going to be able to fit in on a bench? I don't know, but I'm going on a tangent. This is about watchability. Whenever Luka's on a team, it's a game that's fun to watch. But equally, I don't think the Mavs really have anyone else to make it must-watch TV. Every single game, you should be looking to watch the Mavericks. This is different with the Nuggets, though. The Nuggets, I'm very, very looking forward to. The Nuggets must-watch TV, in my opinion. They've got the MVP, Nikola Jokic. He does mental things on a court that nobody his size and stature should be able to do. And then they've got the additions, and they're not really additions when you think about it. But Jamal Murray hasn't played for 2 years. He's technically an addition because we haven't seen that guy hoop since the bubble, and he was dropping 50 pieces in the 2020 playoffs. So if he can carry on that little bit of form that made him such an amazing player during that Western Conference Finals run in 2020, then they're definitely going to be must watch. Added to that, the fact that Aaron Gordon is a human highlight reel, pretty much. That's the only reason he's probably still in the NBA. No offense, Aaron. Michael Porter Jr., I've always rated him, even though he's been injured a lot throughout his career. I think they are going to be must-watch TV, the Denver Nuggets. I think they're going to make without giving away too much of my conference predictions, I think they're going to cause a few rifts in the Western Conference this season. The Memphis Grizzlies are up next. I have a feeling I'm putting too many teams in must-watch. Maybe I'm gonna put Memphis in must-watch, and I'm gonna bring Milwaukee down. In the the Milwaukee, they're still a bit of an aging team. They don't really have a young core. I feel like these must-watch teams are exciting because they might bring something. And then maybe other than Giannis, Milwaukee must-watch. Probably not. Does Mike Budenholzer's tactics make Milwaukee unwatchable pretty much because they only play for Giannis? Maybe. So yeah, I'll put Milwaukee down as we move Memphis to the top. Memphis Grizzlies are obviously must-watch TV. Ja Morant is a must-watch TV player. Desmond Bane, he's come through. Jaren Jackson, I hope he has a breakout year, in my opinion. It's just such a young core, and it's a team that has done so well last season that they have the basis to just crack on and go again. Kind of like what the Suns were like last year. Obviously not to the extent that the Suns got to the finals, the Grizzlies didn't. But their young core means that they can make another run without having to drastically change anything. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do, which is why they must watch TV, in my opinion. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the side that brought in Rudy Gobert, Mr. Defense, which kind of makes teams unwatchable because good defense wins you games, essentially, by more points than good offense does. I'm going to put them hit or miss, in my opinion. That could be a bit of a controversial take. I'll put them at the top. I'll put them at the top. I think they're going to be more hit than miss, but I do think they're going to miss a bit this season. I still think they're going to do well, but equally, D'Angelo Russell, he's not the guy he used to be. Rudy Gobert, he's not really a highlight player. I'm not gonna switch on the TV, see Rudy Gobert, and be like, "Whoa, you know what? I'm so excited to watch this Timberwolves game because of Rudy Gobert." No one ever says that about Rudy Gobert. Come on, no one ever does that. That's why the Jazz were unwatchable, pretty much. That's also because it's Utah and no one really cares about Utah. But my point still stands. Cat, very, very good, solid, still young centre power forward. It'll be interesting to see how he adapts to that role. I think I talked about that last week. I think the Timberwolves are going to hit more often than they miss, but they are going to miss too, especially if Anthony Edwards isn't firing. Let's see if he can be a top 25 player like ESPN say he is. The Spurs, I mean, it's pretty obvious. They're going to be boring as hell to watch this year. I feel sorry for Greg Popovich, but get the bag, man. Get the bag. Just don't let it ruin your legacy by coaching the worst team in the NBA. I mean, let's be honest. Unless something mad happens, the Spurs are going to be the worst team in the NBA. They have no big players, really. Jakob Poeltl's going to leave soon. They're literally just going to be draft pick central, other than the Thunder. So yeah, the Spurs, in my opinion, they're going to be boring as hell this year. No else to say, really. Utah. Now, I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, Utah, they're going to be boring as hell this year. I don't think so. I think they're just going to be kind of dead. I really like Colin Sexton, is the case. I think a lot of people forget that this is a guy who averaged 24 points per game the season before he got injured. And he played like 60 plus games in that season. He's dropped 50 pieces before in his career. I think the Jazz aren't going to be as bad as a lot of people think they're going to be, especially given that they've still got Mike Conley to offload. I don't know. I think Danny Ainge didn't really get much back for Bogdanovich, but I guess he's done well in getting a lot of draft picks for the 2-star players and to build an all right team. Obviously, not playoff contention like they have been, but still, they're not starting from nothing like the Spurs are or like the Pacers are. I mean, I guess they have Halliburton, but Utah, they still have a decent backcourt if Mike Conley stays for a season. I think it would be a good idea if he does, a decent vet name on that team. So yeah, I guess that'd be decent. But yeah, Utah, in my opinion, will be 4th tier. They're not going to do well this season, but I don't think they're going to be the worst team to watch this year. The Clippers, I think they're the definition of hit or miss ever since Kawhi really joined. I think they're going to be below the Pistons as well, in my opinion. Because when they miss, it's going to be so demoralizing because everyone still thinks that they're the best team in the NBA pretty much. They're going to win 50 games. I don't think they've won 50 games since Kawhi came in, if I'm honest with you. I don't think they've gotten past the second round since Kawhi came in. Maybe even the first. I mean, I'm not too sure on that one, if I'm honest with you. It all depends on whether Kawhi can be the guy he was, if Paul George can take over the team like he usually does, if John Wall can be the player he used to be. But the fact is, all of these what ifs just make them a hit or miss team. Because if you have what ifs on your team, you're not going to be the best team to watch because sometimes it's not going to work, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, the Clippers, I think, are going to be hit or miss this year. The Suns, I think, are also going to be hit or miss this year, and I'm going to put them behind the Clippers. The Suns' morale is awful, and we'll talk about this more when we do the predictions, but the Suns' morale is terrible. DeAndre Ayton hasn't spoken to Monty Williams since they exited the playoffs. He is not wanting to be there, if I'm honest with you, but he's got the bag, so I guess that's all right. Chris Paul is saying that he hasn't learned anything from the Dallas series when they went 2-0 up and threw it away, lost in 7, and got blown out by like 50 in front of their home fans. I think this is going to be just a Devin Booker masterclass, if I'm honest with you. Is Chris Paul washed? Let me know in the comments. I thought that might be a hot take. I don't think he is, but I think he's starting to get there. But yeah, the Suns, it's all a case of what if again. What if DeAndre Ayton doesn't take that step that the organization wants to do? What if he doesn't speak to Monty Williams at all this season? Who knows? So yeah, Phoenix, I think, are going to be hit or miss, as are the Blazers. But I think I'm going to put them above the Clippers because Dame is Dame. Whenever Dame is on the court, crazy things happen. But equally, Damian Lillard didn't have a good season last season, got injured for most of it. Is he going to be the same guy that we saw 2 seasons ago? Is he going to be the same guy that we saw that led the Blazers to the conference finals that one year? I think it was like 2015 or something. I don't think he is, but equally, Anthony Simons, he's an exciting player to watch. Jeremy Grant, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in a new setting. Nurkic, obviously, is a not probably your bang average center, really. He's not really a exciting player to watch. But yeah, I think that backcourt is going to be quite exciting to watch, but equally, the rest of their team ain't really all that. So, and in my opinion, they are going to be really good sometimes, but more times they're gonna miss. The Sacramento Kings, again, I think they're just the only reason they're not bottom tier is because they have De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I think they've gotten better over the offseason. Malik Monk's a good pickup. Kevin Huerter's a decent pickup. But equally, they're not going to get the playing again because De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis won't get you a top 10 in today's NBA, which is crazy to think, given that I think they're two all-star level players. But it's just destined for the Kings to not be a playoff team. They're going to need their players to step up. The likes of Keegan Murray in his rookie year, Davion Mitchell in his second year. I think it's going to be interesting to watch them, but equally, I'm not going to be going out of my way to watch any Sacramento Kings basketball this year. So, in my opinion, it's going to be kind of dead for them. New York is next, and this might be a controversial pick, but I'm putting them in fun to watch, mainly because when they play bad, it's funny, and therefore it's fun to watch. If Minnesota played bad, no one's going to be like, Minnesota lost. Did you see that? Haha. No one's going to be like, Detroit lost. Lol. No one's going to be like that because, well, I mean, if Detroit lose a game, it'd be like, yeah, and I've been an NBA fan for the last 10 years. So what? But no, I think the Knicks are going to be interesting to watch because they've paid Brunson, they've paid Randall, they've paid Barrett. They're going to need to do well this year, and I think they'll do okay. Again, I'm not going to spoil any of what I'm going to say next week in the predictions, but I think they'll do all right the Knicks this year. Yes, Tom Thibodeau's brand of basketball is bad, in my opinion. It's very outdated. It's quite boring. But I think because it's the Knicks, if they win, it's going to be a fun game to watch because I like how young their team is. I'd be interested to see how Jalen Brunson does, RJ Barrett since getting the money. They've got Derrick Rose on the team that also makes them fun to watch. But also when they lose, it'll be funny. So therefore, they're fun to watch in my opinion. The Pelicans this season are must-watch TV if Zion can stay healthy. Zion Williamson is probably... I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to stand by what I said a few weeks ago. He could win MVP this year because he is that must-watch TV. It's the storyline is what I'm trying to get at. Nobody expects Zion to win MVP this year. He's come back from literally like a year and a half injury. So if he can come back and average 28 and 10 on 60% shooting, just under 40% from free, why can't he win MVP is what I'm trying to say. And lead to the Pelicans to a top 4 seed. If the Pelicans could get a top 4 seed and he averages that points, at the NBA like a storyline. I don't see why he can't win MVP because of that. He is franchise, and yet he's only played, like 80 games? So I think it's mental that they've put so much faith in him, but he looks good in the media day. He looks good. I think if he plays 60 games this season, the Pelicans are going to be must-watch TV. Plus, they made a very must-watch series against the Suns last year. Alvarado is a must-watch point guard because he runs up behind people and steals the ball from them. Herb Jones is good. Brandon Ingram is all-star level in my opinion. CJ McCollum is equally all-star level, even though he hasn't been one yet. I think this year might be his year, hopefully. But yeah, the Pelicans, everything's going right for them. So yeah, must-watch TV in my opinion. The Hornets, LaMelo Ball kind of just means that it has to be at least top 3. But the Hornets themselves aren't going to have a good season this year. The announcers also make a must-watch TV, I guess, because I'm going to be honest, the Bulls have the best announcers in the game. That's fact. But equally, I'd say that the Charlotte Hornets announcers are probably close second. Obviously, they won't be having Miles Bridges. I don't think so, at least. I think if Miles Bridges was there, it'd probably be top level of hit or miss. But literally, other than Lonzo, sorry, not Lonzo, LaMelo. Have I been saying Lonzo this whole time? LaMelo. If I've been saying Lonzo, I apologize. It is a top 3 seed in my opinion for the not top 3 seed. Man, this whole ball situation has boggled with my head. They are a top 3 because they have LaMelo. It'll be interesting to see how LiAngelo does this year. Actually, he's signed a non-guaranteed 1-year deal with the Hornets again this year, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. But yeah, other than LaMelo, who do they really have? So they are going to miss a lot more than they hit, but when they hit, LaMelo's going to be on the highlights. So Charlotte, 3rd tier. The Rockets, I'm going to put in third tier. Nah, I'm going to put them in the 2nd tier for the moment. Sorry, the 2nd bottom tier for the moment. Sorry, it's quite late. 2nd bottom tier for Houston. I think next season they could be 3rd tier, but it all depends on how Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. improve, how Jabari Smith plays in his first season. Not many people are talking about him as being the Rookie of the Year, despite being a top 3 pick. So it'd be interesting to see how he plays. Sengun, I think, is a very solid young center, but I think the fact that they are just young means that they have no one really there as like a cool, calm, collected head in the back in the locker room to kind of order everything about. So I think it's going to be a lot of crazy basketball. It'd be decent offensive maybe, but they're going to concede a load of points in my opinion. So I think it is kind of dead for them. 2nd bottom tier. The Heat, if I'm honest with you, I think are one of the most boring teams to watch. So it's my opinion. It's my subjective opinion. I think they're unbelievably boring to watch. Jimmy Butler, I respect you. I think you're top 20 in the top 20. Sorry, not even top 20. Top 15 in the NBA currently. You're a Hall of Famer clearly, but I think until it gets to playoff time, Miami have boring basketball. I will only watch them because it's the playoffs essentially, and because Jimmy Butler morphs into LeBron James II when it comes to the playoffs. During the regular season, though, I don't rate Kyle Lowry. I don't think he's special. Well, I do rate him, but I don't think he provides highlights. Bam Adebayo, he's underwhelming. Maybe this season he's actually going to take 18 shots a game like he says he is, but I wouldn't bank on it. Tyler Hero, again, they've got no one special like many other teams above here do. So yeah, I think they're going to be a bit boring to watch. Miami, I'm putting them in the 4th tier. Is that controversial? Maybe, but it's what I think. The Brooklyn Nets are up next. 2nd tier, in my opinion. Any team that has Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on it are fun to watch. It'd be interesting to see how Ben Simmons will play this year. So that'll kind of make it fun to watch. Other than that, they don't really have anyone else. But equally, KD and Kyrie just at least mean that it's a 2nd tier. I'm going to put them ahead of Philly. OKC Thunder. They're going to be boring as hell, in my opinion. They're going to be the high tier of boring as hell. But again, because Chet's not there, they don't really have a purpose again this year. Shea obviously makes a team interesting to watch sometimes, but equally he's the only player they have. Josh Giddey, I guess he's going to make a load more young triple-doubles, so maybe that'll put them on the map a little bit again. But without Chet there, the bottom line is they're not going to get watched as much. So in my opinion, they're going to be boring as hell to watch for me. The Warriors, obviously, I'm going to put them behind the Bulls. So technically they're the most must watch team, but the Bulls are the Bulls, and they're my team. The Warriors have Steph Curry, therefore it's must watch TV because the guy is unbelievable. Plus the champs, so it'd be interesting, like with the Bucks, like I said, be interesting to watch them and support the underdog, to see if they can beat the Warriors, if someone can clamp up Steph, because I don't think anyone's been able to regularly do that. So it'd be interesting to see if someone can do that. But it's just Steph, man. He's so inspirational. So when you watch him, he's probably going to hit at least 7 threes, and 3 of them are going to be mental, and you're going to have your jaw dropped just watching the Warriors play. And also, they have a decent young core as well now. Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, James Wiseman. They've got a lot of exciting young players which add to their watchability. So I think it is definitely top tier and is one of the better teams to watch. The Celtics, in my opinion, are just fun to watch. In my opinion, they don't scrape into the top. Mainly because Jason Tatum misses sometimes. I'm obviously not going to put him in hit or miss. But when Jason Tatum's on it, it's mental. But I'm thinking, maybe it's recency bias, but I'm thinking more towards the playoffs last year. It was not fun to watch Jason Tatum play. It was fun to watch Jaylen Brown play. It was fun to watch everyone else play. But equally, I feel like they're going to lose it a little bit this year, especially with Ime Udoka not being able to coach them this season. So they're going to lose a little bit of what they had last year. Having Malcolm Brogdon in there is going to make their offense hopefully a lot better. The reason they're not at the top is because last season it was a case of just give the ball to Jason Tatum, give the ball to Jaylen Brown, let them draw a double team, let them drive to the basket, let them shoot the free, let them do whatever they want pretty much. And everyone else, you can average 10 points a game this season. I just think that I'm going to keep them in the second tier because they're not as bad as Miami, in my opinion, in terms of watchability, because Jason Tatum is that guy. He's exciting. But equally, they're not top tier, in my opinion. The Lakers, I'm going to put toward the bottom end of top tier. Any team that has LeBron James in it, it's must-watch TV. He is franchise. He's the definition of franchise. You're going to want to watch him. Equally, like with the Knicks, when the Lakers lose, it's going to be as funny, if not more funnier. Because it's the Lakers, because it's LeBron James not making the playoffs once again. Hilarious. So I just think that they have to be must-watch TV. Plus, it's the Lakers, man. It's the history. Not only is it funny that the Lakers lose because it's LeBron, because it's AD, because Russell Westbrook had a terrible game, because Russell Westbrook got into a fight with Patrick Beverley mid-game. Not because of that. It's because this is the Los Angeles Lakers. It's funny watching them lose because they are the most well-known. They're a team with a load of championships. It's funny to watch the Lakers lose. Especially for me, as a Bulls fan, it's funny to watch LeBron lose too. Although I do respect Bron. Sorry, Bron. But in my opinion, must watch, but towards the end, because they're the worst team on this row. The Bulls are better. Come on. I'm not even being biased there. The Bulls are better. Who made the playoffs last year? That's all I can say. As we move on to the final team, the Orlando Magic, I think they're just going to be kind of dead this year, but I'm going to put them ahead of... In fact, I need to rearrange this row. Put Washington all the way down there. I'm going to put them behind the Jazz, in my opinion. Very nice young core in Orlando. I'm going to be praising Orlando next week in the predictions. Wendell Carter, he's going to have a decent year this year. Franz Wagner, good pick, a good rookie off into his second year. Markel Fultz, I want to see more of him, but equally he just can't not be injured, which is a shame. I really want to see him play. Cole Anthony, he has what it takes to be a 20-point per game threat this year. So yeah, I think Orlando, they are going to be a bit dead to watch. I'm never going to go out my way to watch an Orlando game at this moment in time, but equally they're not going to play bad basketball, is what I'm trying to say, like these 3 teams will. So yeah, I think Orlando in the 4th tier, and that rounds off everything. I'm gonna just go through and see if I want to reorder anything. You know what? I'm gonna put the Celtics behind the Mavericks. Luka just makes it interesting. And then I'm going to put Trae Young ahead of the Nets, in my opinion. Down here in the third tier, I would say the top tier, I think it is right. The third tier, Timberwolves. I'll put the Suns at the front because obviously they have Devin Booker. Devin Booker's unbelievable. And I'll put the Pistons. I think the Pistons are going to be. I'll put the Blazers there. I think the Pistons are going to be more entertaining to watch than the Clippers this year. That's just my opinion. Heat, I'll put at the front there. Don't shout at me, Miami fans. I just don't like how you play. And yeah, I think everything else is fine. So that is going to be the end of me ranking teams based on my opinion on how watchable they are. I'll say that again. It's my opinion. Please don't bag me in the comments. Obviously, let me know who you guys think are the most watchable teams in the NBA this year. Because everyone's opinion can be different. That's fact. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Hopefully it'll be a with Sully. I'm sick and tired of doing these on my own. So hopefully Sully will be back next week for some NBA predictions. But without further ado, this is the end of the video. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're sharing it out no matter what you're listening on. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything like that. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.